Hello and welcome to the Kamla Show. We bring you interviews and conversations with technologists, entrepreneurs, filmmakers, and other news from in and around the San Francisco Bay Area. My guest today is Ambassador Venkatesan Ashok. He is the Consul General of India. He is an engineer turned diplomat. Welcome, Ambassador.
Thank you very much.
So you're an engineer turned diplomat.
Yes, but I still think I'm doing the same thing. Instead of building bridges in physical terms, I'm building bridges between people.
Talking about building bridges between people, President Obama has paid a lot of attention to India. He's the first American president to have gone to India twice, and there's been a lot of spotlight on the India-US relationship. And he was there in January to visit with Prime Minister Modi. Could you break it down for us? What is behind this symbolism of India-US relationship? What is the status?
I think the relationship between India and the US is at a point in history which we have never been in the past. It is on an upswing. We hope to see it continue upwards. And genuinely, since independence of India, this is the first time that I think the relationship has peaked to such a point. So I think it is far more than just symbolism, and I think it is built on the shared interests of both the US and India in seeing the similarities. We are both democracies, we are both countries which believe in rule of law, and share a lot of common ideas on how to do business and culture and education together.
Let's talk about the common ideas to do business. We are here in the heart of the land of innovation, technology. You're a technologist yourself. What are the business opportunities for Americans to do business in India in today's world?
I think if you focus on the fact that we already have most of the Fortune 500 companies represented in India, and I have a list here, in fact, which I will not bore your viewers with, but we have all the big names that you can think of who have been in India and who are increasingly coming to India. So whether you take it from Coca-Cola to power to energy to automobiles to anything, the scope of this relationship is huge. The potential for business is massive. And being in the Silicon Valley, the hub of innovation and entrepreneurship, I think we have a very exciting possibility in terms of being able to enhance this relationship through pushing ideas, innovations from here to India, and also taking ideas and innovations from India which could be adapted for use here.
Do you see any new opportunities besides the IT and technology? That's been one of the top factors in the India-US relationship. What else is there?
As you are aware, India is in a very big drive in terms of infrastructure. We are needing to put in about $1 trillion in infrastructure in building more power plants, more improving our ports, our airports, and our roads, our railways. So whether you take it in terms of just the sheer magnitude of the items or in terms of the diversity of the product, I think American companies across the spectrum have a wide range of possibilities for engaging in these contracts for construction as well as in supply of equipment and materials which would be required for this infrastructure development. This is one step. But then there are other areas. India is already a very big pharmaceutical producer, and globally also we have a profile and presence. We would like to join hands with the US in improving and enhancing this profile even further. And energy in particular is something which I would like to focus on. We are enormously short of energy, and in fact our per capita usage is very low, and therefore whether it is the conventional energy, you are talking of thermal, of hydroelectric, or you are talking of nuclear, or you are talking of renewables, in all these areas there is a great need for expansion. Currently we are at about 200,000 megawatts, and about 64% of this is thermal. But we need to change this mix, as it were, and ensure that it is more sustainable, and this is something where we seek the help of the US.
So, energy is one area, and your favorite topic actually is energy and renewable energy, and you've also worked with IAEA and nuclear. Tell us what is, in the recent visit there was a lot of coverage of the India-US nuclear deal. Why don't you break it down for us and let us know what is it that they achieved in this nuclear deal, and how can that deal provide energy which India needs?
As you are aware, the 123 agreement which we arrived at in 2008 provided a one-time exception for India in the NSG suppliers group.
That was under President Bush.
That was under President Bush, and that opened the way for commerce in the nuclear energy sector, not only with the US, but with all the other major suppliers. But the problem of nuclear liability remained, and there is a convention on supplementary liability, the convention which was signed in 1960 and 1963 in the IAEA, and in terms of that liability convention, India was required to become a party to that convention, and this, our national law, has been put in place in 2010, and since then we feel we are in line with the convention that is there in the IAEA. What we need is to convince the other players, including the US, that all the clauses that we have do meet with the specifications, and this process was a negotiation that took place between the Indian side and the US side, and we have arrived now at broad understandings on the liability issue, and administrative arrangements have been concluded in this regard, and I see that now both sides seem to have an understanding on the nature of the liability that would accrue in the event of an accident.
So, you have overcome a major hurdle.
It is a major hurdle we have overcome.
So, there is opportunity now to do some business in this generating nuclear power in India.
There is enormous opportunity, because this opening of the gate would enable US companies to participate in construction of nuclear reactors in India. Already some sites have been identified in different parts of India for US, for French, for Russian nuclear reactors. In the case of the Russian, it is in the site where 2 reactors have already been constructed in South India by the Russians. And I think this is a very crying need as far as we are concerned, because nuclear energy is a benign source of energy. You don't produce greenhouse gases, and
but there are other aspects of nuclear energy that you are very well aware.
There are other aspects, including safety and waste, but at the same time we feel that we are in a position to provide the necessary safeguards and the safety required for the reactor, and we have also, because in the nuclear establishment in India, we have all the technologies, starting from the mining to the fuel fabrication to the fuel preparation to the usage in the reactor to the waste technology stream. So, we have the entire gamut of activity, and the way we have planned out our nuclear energy system, we want to minimize the waste through enabling it to be reused.
What is the total energy need that India has? It's a country with 1.2 billion people, 65% who are under the age of 35. So, there is a demand for energy. It's an emerging economy. Nuclear is one. What about renewable energy?
About 4 times the population of the US and about 1/5 the generation capacity that the US has. The average Indian has about 1/20th the amount of power that the average US citizen has. So, I think we need to bring in some degree of equity into this picture, and it would be useless for me to approach a fellow Indian and tell him, you know, you should cut down on power usage because of greenhouse gases. Fine, we will cut down in terms of efficiency and sustainability, but I think in terms of equity, it is on all our shoulders to match the levels that we are using. And in this, we see that we are currently maximizing the use of thermal, both coal and gas, which has its own problems in terms of pollution. We have serious problems of pollution. Delhi has been declared, I think, the world's most polluted city, perhaps beating Beijing, I am not sure. But we are very conscious of this problem, and we need to reduce it. How do we reduce it? Hydroelectric is a possibility, but we have about 30% hydroelectric, but that again has serious problems because new power, new hydroelectric stations, new dams require us to resettle people, often in tribal areas. It is not fair to move those people from their traditional homelands. It causes displacement, it causes other problems of waterlogging and other
What
problems.
about solar though?
So, we then have to think in terms of renewable. As of today, the price of solar has been falling steadily, and compared to what it was say 10 years ago, solar is now fast becoming a much more viable source of power. However, solar, wind and other renewables have the problem of intermittency. They do not stay for 24 hours of the day. And so, we have to bring in storage systems, either batteries or molten salt systems or some other methods by which we can prolong the life to make it 24-hour continuous power. And these problems are just now in the stage of getting solved. I think the very fact that Prime Minister Modi has announced 100 gigawatts, that is 100,000 megawatts of solar energy by 2022 is indication of the level of commitment of the government, of the people of India to renewable energy, to solar energy. And I think that this is a place you were mentioning about opportunities for America and for California. I think this is a place where California has a special role to play in terms of the solar power capabilities that are already existing here down in the south of California. We look to advantages from the technologies which are already gaining traction in terms of photovoltaic, in terms of concentrated solar power and other techniques, storage systems which are being devised here, so that we can have shared experiences and benefit. We have much more sun. We have 300 days of sun on average across India as compared to America, and I think we could hugely benefit by it.
So, energy is one area, education is another area. What else is there? Agriculture, California is well known for its agriculture.
Yes, as you are aware, we are already buying almonds and pistachios and possibly in future also walnuts from California. We are buying apples from Washington state, and broadly we are very keen on again sharing technology, learning from technologies on agriculture in the US. We have serious problems of agriculture in food processing. 35% of the food which is produced, the fruits and vegetables which are produced, gets ruined before it reaches the customer. This is because the supply chain system is not adequate, the cold storage system is not good enough, the transportation is not good enough. In all these three links that I have mentioned, US and California can play a significant part in assisting and helping in solving the issue, so that we would be able to address this in a very big way. And improving agriculture in terms of less water use, in terms of more improved techniques is something we can benefit from. Water is also an issue in California, and as you know, we are all waiting for the rain. And in India also, water is a very critical issue. I think the issue of water, waste management and water treatment is a very big thing in which we would be able to share experiences and gain a lot from collaboration with the United States.
So there are opportunities in those areas.
There are huge opportunities.
Okay. I want to switch back real quickly to energy, and you mentioned that you're looking at various kinds of energy to produce enough for the people of India. Have you been following Elon Musk and what he's been doing? Because his latest thing is he's creating a battery for home use. Is that something that would be of interest to India?
Absolutely, I think so, and I do hope that some of Mr. Musk's ideas would get translated to India also. As I understand it, he wants to combine the car battery and the home battery in such a way that you sort of synergize the benefits you get from transportation and from home use. I think such an idea would have a lot of traction in India. And
because in India they already use batteries when you're
absolutely, we all are using inverters.
Yes.
So yes, we would be very happy to do that. We must of course make sure that we have enough power to generate to recharge those batteries. So and also I'm very excited by the new models of Tesla which are coming out, and I think not to mention SpaceX and everything else which is there, but I think there are huge opportunities.
Have you sat in a Tesla?
Yes, I have, and it's an awesome car.
Oh.
So I think there are huge possibilities, and electrics and hybrids is also a way in which India would be going, because we need that in order, as I mentioned to you, to reduce our footprint in terms of greenhouse gases, in terms of usage of consumable fossil fuels.
We are again in the hub of Silicon Valley, cradle of technology and innovation. If you were given a chance, who would you like to meet? Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg? Who would you like to hang out? Oh, perhaps both. What if you're only given a choice of one?
It's difficult to say.
Really? I thought you would say Elon Musk.
Probably, because I'm more an engineer than an IT man.
Well, hopefully Mr. Musk is listening. And what are some of the top things that are being imported from India to California, and what is it that to America, and what is it that America is sending to India in terms of business?
Well, India is exporting precious stones and metals.
Are you surprised it's precious stones?
Not really, because actually if you look at the trade, it's not so much of the precious stones which are originating in India. It is precious stones originating from all around, which are taken to India. We are 95% or so of the high quality diamonds in the world are processed in India. So, and then they are sent out to Antwerp, to the US, to other places. So, this is only diamonds. Then we do also the other precious stones, semi-precious stones and so on.
So, precious stones is number one.
It's a very high area. And then we have textiles, we have pharmaceutical products, mineral fuel, machinery, organic chemicals, electric machinery, and then some gum, lac, and so on.
Okay.
And there is of course also trade from here, which is significant. We mentioned the agricultural products earlier. But here it goes into the higher technology sphere also, such as aircraft. We are buying quite a few Boeing aircraft now. The private airlines in India are buying quite a few aircraft, machinery, and
what
also
kind of machinery?
All kinds, because our factories are. We are now assembling almost every type of foreign car manufacturer. They're all there in India assembling cars. So I see the need for robots and other kinds of machinery for this kind of purpose. And also remember, manufacturing in India is still only 16% of our GDP. We are wanting to get into manufacturing in a very big way.
You're still services oriented.
We are still far more service oriented. We need to change. Services should be high, but manufacturing should also rise, because at any given point in the IT sector, you may have 2.5 to 3 million people at the maximum who are directly employed in IT. But we have 12 million youngsters coming onto the job market every year. So these people are not going to be employed in IT.
So about 80% cannot be employed in IT.
They will have to get in. No. That is 2.5 million total. And this is 12 million annual.
That's what I meant.
So only a small portion of that 12 million can get into IT.
Right.
and the vast majority will have to get into manufacturing.
So now you have to find venues for them.
And if they do not, we are going to have a social problem on our hands with all these youngsters not having jobs. So we need to accelerate our manufacturing enormously, and this is the keystone of my Prime Minister's message of Make in India. He wants to make sure that we manufacture much more in India. So for that, the mother machines which are used for manufacture as well as the machinery used for the product itself will both have to come from, no, some of it will be local, but a lot of it will come from outside. We hope a lot of it will come from America.
And are there opportunities for the West Coast states?
Absolutely, because this part of taking Washington State and California together, I think between you cover a lot of the heavy, sophisticated industries like aircraft and spacecraft, and you also cover the hardware and software in terms of IT. But there are a whole range of other areas, optical instruments and measuring devices and lasers and so on, which now have become ubiquitous in terms of their usage in all kinds of products. All of these are made in this part of the world. So I see huge possibilities for.
What is the dollar amount in terms of the trade between India and US? Do you have?
The merchandise trade is about $65 billion, and the breakup is roughly 2:1. We sell more than the US. So it's about 65 billion merchandise trade. But what is interesting is that over 50 billion, maybe about 55 billion, comes from IT services, IT and IT services. So when we do trade figures, we do addition of goods and services. So you will get a total figure of nearly about, what is it, 60 plus 120 billion. And that 120 billion represents the largest trading partner for India. So the US is the largest trading partner. In terms of goods alone, China exceeds the US. But in terms of total services, goods and services, the US is number one.
You studied to be an engineer.
Yes.
What prompted you to join the Foreign Service?
I think in my family, my brother joined the domestic administrative service, and perhaps at that time, I think I was thinking of either coming abroad to apply to come to a university in America, or to join the civil service, which in our country is very highly prized and very highly coveted. I wasn't too keen on working in the private sector in India or in the as an engineer in India. So I did both, and I was fortunate enough to get admission in the US and to get
where
in MIT.
Oh.
And I also was fortunate enough to get into this. It was a tough choice, but I think I made the right choice.
Okay, so if you hadn't joined the Foreign Service, you would have been a professor at MIT, studied, and what were you going to study at MIT?
Project engineering, project management.
That's why you're so passionate about all these projects, large-scale projects and everything. Where all have you traveled since this is your first time in California? My
first time in California, and if you don't count 18 hours in transit in New York in 1988, my first time in the US.
Oh, first time. And before this, you were in Czechoslovakia?
Czech Republic. I was ambassador in the Czech Republic. Prior to that, I was ambassador in Zimbabwe. And I have served, you had mentioned the IAEA. I was in Austria in the embassy dealing with the IAEA. And I've also been in Sri Lanka, in China, in Malaysia, and Hong Kong. Hong Kong was where I started. And that's where I also learned my Chinese.
Oh, so you speak Mandarin?
I speak Mandarin.
Okay, and you speak well?
I have not spoken for 16 years, except with the Chinese embassy in various countries. I think I speak reasonably well, but reading and writing have decayed somewhat.
Because it's a very difficult.
It's very difficult, okay. And you have to keep it up.
My final question, is Bollywood. Since you've traveled all over, what has been your observation about Bollywood in all these different countries?
As I matured in service, I was very happy to see the greater and greater footprint of Bollywood worldwide. Even in the Czech Republic, they know our stars, they welcome the possibilities for us to come and shoot there, And as I was leaving, they started screening movies also in Czech theatres. In other parts like in France and of course England, this is a matter of course now. And I am very happy to be here in California and in the USA, where now Bollywood is very much a part of you all, not just because of the Indian community, Indian American community, but also because I think the locals have taken to Bollywood in a big way. And I see that it is a very good thing that Bollywood and Hollywood, we getting more Hollywood and you getting more Bollywood, is a good, nice exchange way of doing things. But I am also very happy that Bollywood dance has been integrated along with yoga and other things into the mainstream of American lore, as it were, and that a lot of youngsters seem to enjoy both Bollywood dance and yoga. So I think these are the ways we have of bringing us together, and I think I am very happy with that.
What is your favorite Bollywood movie? Do you watch?
I do watch a lot, but you probably may not even have heard of it. It is ages ago. It is a film called Mausam, in which Sanjeev Kumar and Sharmila Tagore acted.
Yes.
But that was in the 70s. I do like some of the new ones, especially some of the ones by Shah Rukh Khan have been quite good. And my wife and I do look forward to the new releases when they come. I think we'll get more opportunities here. There we had to depend only on DVDs. Here we can go to the theatres.
Theatres and watch. And do you plan to travel quite a bit in California?
Yes, in California, and since my jurisdiction also covers 11 other states, mostly on the west coast, but also Alaska, Hawaii and Guam. I would
even
hope,
Guam.
Even Guam. I hope to visit all by the time I finish my term, which I hope will be 4 years. And I certainly do intend. I have already visited Seattle, and I have been several times to LA, and I will be going to Nevada and Arizona shortly. But I hope to cover all of them, Utah, and these are names which we've come across in geography and which
and in Hollywood
movies
films.
And in movies, yes. So for me, they have a lot of resonance, and I would love to go and visit them.
Let me ask you, what's your favorite Hollywood movie? Westerns, or what kinds of movie did you watch?
The Scarlet and the Black.
Oh, okay.
Again, an old one.
An old one.
I am an old man.
Ambassador, it was such a pleasure to have you, and hopefully you'll come back and visit with us again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Tune back in next week for another episode of our conversation. Until then, goodbye.